What's up, peeps? This is just a quick disclaimer and a big thank you to Proximity Games for sending us a review code for their upcoming survival game, Erzurum. They've not placed any restrictions on what we can show, however, we only had access to the sandbox survival mode in the game, so this isn't a full review as we've not had chance to play through any of the story or challenge modes, but we have played through the sandbox quite a bit, experiencing the core of what the game has to offer, but still, it wouldn't be fair to score it based on what we've played so far. Erzurum releases on the 10th of February and will include all of the game's modes, selling at $12 on release day. First things first, the elephant in the room. The Long Dark. It's impossible to avoid comparisons here. Now, The Long Dark is one of the best survival games out there in mine and many people's opinion, so there's no shame in drawing inspiration from another hit title within the genre. However, I would argue there are some aspects that come a little too close for comfort here in Erzurum. Firstly, the interface is one of the most glaring ones. It's almost identical to The Long Dark's, and really only needed some basic cosmetic originality with it just being a simple interface design, and I'd have thought that would have been fairly easy to create from scratch. Apparently not. Then there's the foundations of the game. It's set in a snowy, mountainous area. We must survive against the harsh winter weather, as well as fend off animals like bears, wolves and boars. Now, obviously, The Long Dark do not own this concept, but there are many more dangerously close similarities when delving deeper into the game. In fact, the similarities are so close, I can just picture a future conversation between the two game developers, Hinterland Studios and Proximity Games, going something like this.
Whoa, look! You can't just take somebody's idea, change the name of it, and then sell it.
Take a look at Hard Rock Cafe, got tweaked by Planet Hollywood. Coke got tweaked by Pepsi. Transformers got tweaked by GoBots. Our job is to step aside and let the consumer decide.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm gonna get a patent for this and sue your balls off.
The biggest similarity, and one of the most obvious, is the dependency on staying warm, and in order to do that, we need fire. This mechanic is the same as The Long Dark's, needing to find various fuel types and matches to start a fire, though only being able to light them at barrels or stoves, so there's no camping on the move here. I also noticed that fires light 100% of the time too, which somewhat undermines the true-to-life realism aspect that I'd expect from a survival game.
Today, smoking is gonna save lives.
Once nighttime washed over the world I was exploring, the next similarity became apparent. This time a more pleasant one though, in the form of the Aurora, or more commonly known as the Northern Lights. But these also appear in Skyrim and probably a host of other games too, but they look as stunning as ever in Erzurum. There appears to have been a geomagnetic weather incident within the game, and I'd guess the broader implications of what that means in the world will become clearer during the story mode. There are a lot more similarities within the game too, but with each came a bit of a difference. For instance, the clothing needs maintaining, like in The Long Dark, but the clothes don't seem to take much damage, and only one item per body part can be worn at any one time. The same can be said about the guns too, they also need maintaining. We must melt down snow to get water, and again, this all seems very familiar somehow. Cooking is similar in the sense of placing an item on the stove and waiting for it to cook. However, the downside difference is only one item to be cooked at a time on a pretty spacious stove. But the upside difference is there's quite a few cooking recipes, and man, the Turks know how to make a mean fucking kebab.
Oh my goodness. That's absurd.
The survival aspects of the game are there, as you would expect, but I never truly felt intimidated by the world, and I was quickly stocked up with ammo and goods after 6 or 7 hours of exploring. The threat certainly doesn't feel that strong, more of a casual exploration feeling. There's a map, a compass and even a radar, which is way too gamey for my survival liking, you know? If these tools were removed or even given the option to remove them, I think the real survival factor would set in, because the density of the trees, and especially when the blizzard sweeps in, it'd be easy to get lost in that, and that's the fear I personally want in my survival games, being at the mercy of the elements. In fact, there are no gameplay customization options at all here. We sadly can't rebind the keys either or change the mouse's sensitivity, which is pretty basic stuff to be honest. The gunplay is pretty unresponsive and flat too, with no recoil or swaying effects, so it was very easy to pop one in the dome of any predators.
Will you hold still, please? please, sir.
And on the topic of predators, their AI is almost broken. The bears sound like lawnmowers. And all the animals just seem to spaz out with some serious pathing issues. Now, if we are going to carry on the trend of comparing this to The Long Dark, then I have to mention that these aspects aren't exactly perfect in that game either, in terms of the gunplay and the animal behaviour being wonky at best. When I first saw Erzurum, I thought, I'm going to make a conscious effort to not compare this to The Long Dark, and review the game for what it is. And to use the word rip-off sounds too harsh because there's plenty of people who prefer Pepsi over Coke. That's fine, but it's impossible not to compare the two when one has clearly copied the other. Comparisons become inevitable and unavoidable, but thankfully there are still some major differences and some definite positives to this game too. The first huge positive in Erzurum is how it looks. It's a really gorgeous setting, fantastic draw distance, and I mean, just look at these textures. Amazing level of detail, and you can even see a green crushed can squeezed in between the cracks in the stone. It ran really well too, capped at 60 frames but barely a single drop in the frame rate throughout my entire time playing. The character we play as is named Talon, who, travelling through Turkey, wanders into the region of Erzurum which has been affected by a meteor strike. That's pretty much all the info I have available to me regarding the story side of things, but noticing other obvious differences to many recent survival games and sticking with the visual side of things too, Talon can be controlled in third person. As mentioned already, the setting is an amazing sight, but Talon, put it this way, my advice, keep it in first person guys. There's an element of verticality to Erzurum too, and not just by schlepping up the region's mountains. Talon can climb up on top of certain objects and ledges, giving a wider sense of exploration than simply looking in front or below yourself. I did find the odd bullet or shotgun shell under desks and beds, but was rewarded even more by climbing on top of various buildings, often finding a mysteriously blue gleaming meteorite. These meteorites can be collected around the map, and as well as being tied into the story, I'm assuming, they also provide Talon with a stat boost like 10% health or energy increase and even a bigger carrying capacity. From the animals you hunt or defend yourself against, you can craft fur coats and pants, but sadly these aren't visible on your body when worn, nor are any of the other items of clothing, which is a shame really. You can craft other resources and tools too, and it's not a huge crafting system, but certainly enough to encourage exploration for materials. Another issue I had was the fact that the deer carcasses I found around the map had already been to the butchers and left pretty much ready to pop straight on the barbie. There's no delicious smell wafting from your pockets to lure in a couple of ravenous wolves either, so it's safe to stock up on meat. I did end up having a hilarious argument with my binoculars. When I tried to equip them, and they were in my inventory by the way, they would just say, "No." "Oh, but come on, I just want to have a quick look over there. Do you mind if I just..." "No." "Oh, come on, look at that big cloud of smoke. I just want to have a quick look." "No." "Well, fuck you, binoculars!" To round things off, it's well worth reminding ourselves that The Long Dark has been in a state of ongoing development since its early access release back in September 2014. Now I don't know how many of you actually played The Long Dark back in 2014, but the game was pretty sluggish, buggy and very minimalistic. Over years of feedback, fine-tuning and patches from the devs, today, over 6 years later, The Long Dark looks and plays absolutely nothing like it did back then, and has been improved 100 times over. So even though Erzurum has clearly emulated a survival classic, I think it's only fair to give Proximity Games a chance to care for and nurture the game, and evolve it into something that can stand alone as its own title with its own clear identity within the survival genre, and I believe it has all the raw ingredients to do that. I definitely had fun exploring the world of Erzurum and found it to be pretty pleasing on the eye. Talon's controls need some refining and the animal AI definitely needs attention too. As I've relentlessly mentioned already, Erzurum is heavily based on The Long Dark, and with Proximity Games making very little effort to hide that, I'd assume that they're expecting to hear players label this as a rip-off or as being derivative. These words don't quite sit right with me though, because they carry overly negative connotations, and I have to emphasise I did have fun playing this game and would definitely like to see where it goes from here. Erzurum releases on PC only on the 10th of February, and this date has only recently been pushed back a few weeks after feedback from other gamers playing the beta version, so it's great to see them taking the feedback on board. Selling at $12 when it releases, it's a price that currently reflects the game in my opinion, and again, that's having not played the story or challenge modes yet. The game is a long way off me being able to recommend it with confidence, but with all the issues I've mentioned being so fixable, the fact that I really had a fun time playing it, and with the game being set at a fair price, I think there'll be plenty of survival game fans out there, especially Long Dark fans, who will be itching for a new world to explore with differing variables, who will genuinely really end up enjoying this one. Hopefully we see all the necessary improvements that need to be made over the coming months. Thanks for watching guys. If you enjoyed the video, please drop it a like and perilously trek over that subscribe button for more early access reviews coming soon. If you're a survival game fan and you're looking forward to checking out Erzurum, let us know in the comments what features you'll be expecting to see from the game's challenge and story modes. Catch you in the next one in a bit, peeps!